Okay, welcome along to our next edition of Get in the Habit with myself, David Finch, and
Sue Allsworth.
brilliant. And we have a guest with us today as well, which is
Nadine.
Hello, Nadine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, great. And really good. And we're actually recording this one as well on video. So all those people, welcome along on video as well, which is great. So we discussed this in our last one. We said then we should have a YouTube channel. And I don't know what Sue's going to do with this, to be honest with you. Before you know it, I'll be on YouTube and the grandchildren will be laughing at me. But who knows, you know? So welcome along today, Nadine. And today we're going to talk about what you do and how people can get in the habit of all of what you do. And then we'll chuck some stuff in the mix. Does that work with you?
Yes, definitely does, because as we've already discovered that we do very, very similar, don't we? So
We do.
And
Yeah.
I love that, well connected. So yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So today we've got Get in the Habit, and I know we've discussed this, so the title today is Get in the Habit starting with you. And it was a title that you actually kind of, when we were discussing this, you sort of chose when we put this to you. So what does getting in the habit and starting with you mean to you, Nadine?
Well, it's all about self-care. It's all about looking after yourself before you think about anyone else or doing anything else, actually. And most people are not very comfortable with that. You know, when you say self-care, when you say people go, oh, I can't do that. We are very good at looking after everybody else, aren't we? And we don't put ourselves top of the list. So my advice to everybody is start your day with you, never mind anything else, you know, but start your day thinking about you, tuning into you, how you feel, what you want, that kind of thing. So most people, when they wake up in the morning, they quite often go into busy head mode instantly. We've quite often got our phones by the bed. We use them as alarms, don't we? And they're there. And a lot of people, the first thing they do is look at social media. They will look, or they'll check emails, they'll check in with friends and family, which is lovely. But I like to encourage people, as I say, to ignore that and start with you. So a little bit of tuning in, breathing, meditation, doesn't have to be long, but just tuning in to how you feel physically and emotionally. A few breaths is all it can take, and you just tune in, and then you choose how you're going to be, how you're going to spend your day. A little bit of planning forward, you know, not too much because that can be overwhelming, but just tuning into you for a moment. It's so powerful, and it really is a lovely way to actually start your day. And that can be done at any time in the day as well. A little quick tune in and reset, I like to call it. Just again, a few breaths, 3 breaths is enough. Just tuning in how you feel physically, how you feel emotionally, how you want to carry on. So anytime you can do that. So I recommend that, tuning in with yourself anytime you think of it, really, just tuning in. And it's very, very empowering, and it's really good at focus and clarity for how you move forward in your day as well. So
yeah, that's it's really interesting, Nadine. And I was just thinking then of my particular habits, and do I do something like that? Well, one, we never have phones in the room.
No, nor do I. No.
My wife and I, we make a conscious thing, no phones in the bedroom as such, because you say some people use them as alarms, but I think sometimes they can be quite distracting. You know, if you wake up in the night, I've got friends on Facebook, and you know, they'll put a post on at like 3:30 in the morning or something like that, and say, "Oh, wide awake at 3:30. I just can't get to sleep."
Yeah,
you think,
let's wake everyone else up.
Get off of Facebook. You know, it's like,
I know. So many people do it, don't they? It's oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So and the few breaths, I think that was really good advice there. And I noticed I do that myself. I don't know if I'll do it because I'm an older man now, and I need to have a bit of a stretch in the morning. So I tend to get out of bed, do a bit of a stretch, you know, a couple of good deep breaths to get my body, you know, breathing, if you like, you know. And then I'm ready, and I can make it down the stairs then, you know.
Well, it is. No, I'm the same. I don't wake up happy, to be honest. My mood is not very good when I wake up, and my physical state isn't. I'm with you, aches and pains. So stretching and everything. And I've got to be honest, I'll let you know a little secret. I do it all before I've even got out of bed. I do a stretch, I do my little bit of breathing, tuning in, because I feel I need that even just to get out of bed,
Right, okay.
which makes me sound a little bit precious, but it really is that kind of, you can start and it just changes your mood, changes how you feel, because I don't wake up feeling that good, and I never have, and it's just, but I can change it very quickly. So, but you're absolutely right, stretching the body, you know, and getting yourself moving. And I'm the same, you know, before I attempt going down the stairs, I need to make sure all the bits of my body are working properly.
I'm not sure if it comes with age or what, but you know, probably any younger listeners listening to us now go, what are they on about? Yeah, I'll just get up.
We're just helping them good habits before they get to our point.
I'm in that in between stage now,
Okay.
where I am aware that my body needs a little bit more of an encouragement than it used to be fair. One thing that's I got rid of my bed, what do you call it, a bed stand, not the mattress,
table,
the actual bed frame.
Oh, okay.
And so my mattress is just sort of on slats on the floor, so it's actually really good because it makes me have to get up further and use muscles more than you would when you just sort of go off your bed in the morning.
You're brave.
But I'm with you, Nadine. As much as I can do from my bed, I will. One of my things in the morning, which is very similar, it's just not a word you've used, but you kind of described it, and that is visualization. I just visualize, what have I got in that day? How do I want that day to go? So at least I'm setting the intention out that that's how I want my day to go, because I've learned that visualization and linking in with that law of attraction is really, really powerful. So yeah, but I'm the one sitting here very quietly listening to you talking, thinking I know exactly where my mobile phone is at night, and it's near enough not far from me, and it's not even used as an alarm, but my mobile phone is on silent most of the time. Well, it is actually on site, it's on vibrate, because I don't pay it overly, I just check it every now and then, but it is there. And I'm one that probably uses my mobile late at night just to play a silly little game or something, just because for me, although I know the light is not necessarily good to help me sleep, the games, the mind-numbing games, it just helps me to switch off, because if I'm concentrating on that, I can then finally let go of everything that the meetings and what have you has been going on in the day. So double-edged sword there. So I'm sitting there like thinking, I know that I'm not a good girl here.
Confession time, yeah, I get that.
It's like Confessions with Sue. That's another podcast, isn't it?
One down, Sue. Yeah,
I mean, it is the way that we live our life, isn't it? And it is hard. I call it a digital detox, and I ask people to purposely come off their phone and get in the habit again, you know, of how, you know, when can we turn everything off? When I call it going off grid. You know, I do it quite regularly because I need to and I want to. But actually it is, I did some workshops with some 15-year-old girls a little while ago, and I asked them to switch off their phone at night or not have it in the room. Do you know what? They couldn't do it. They found that really scary. I found it scary, but they couldn't do it.
That they're missing out on something.
I think that's what it was a lot of
Isn't
the
it?
time.
That's what's just suddenly come to me. Why is it that we can't switch off? And the thing that the message that's just come through is just that quite often we are so worried about missing out on something, aren't we?
Yeah.
I am. It's on the internet. You can go to it an hour later. It doesn't make any difference. It won't be totally life-changing if you did miss it for an hour or so in the morning or in the evening when you switch it off. But it is that thought of, we think we're going to miss out on something, don't we, especially as when we're younger.
And I can relate to that. I mean, the phone's very addictive, isn't it? I do want to catch up on what I'm missing when I've been off, you know, so it is there. And on your point you said earlier, David, about people are checking in with each other and sharing the fact that they can't sleep and that kind of thing. That's really common, isn't it? You know, but again, it's very much about find another way, maybe. You know, I'd say to you, Sue, perhaps swap your phone for a book, you know, by the bed to chill out or get your mind off things. You might not want to
my
do
audio
that.
book as
I know
well.
it's on there.
I
know it's all on there. They're all singing and dancing, aren't they, these phones?
I know.
They do everything.
This is it. I mean, I do use them. I have to admit, what I do use my phone for in the evenings is audiobooks. I'm not a reader as such, because I'm trying to do 10 things at once, but I actually really like listening to an audiobook.
Yeah.
And that will actually, because then I can place that down so I can't see the light. Everything else is off in my room, and I can just listen, and then
So
it doesn't bother me if I fall
your
asleep
way.
because it will, you can always go back to it, can't you?
Yeah. But I think that ties in goes back to our old habits maybe, and patterns of maybe when we were read a story, because I love to hear someone read me a story even now, at my age, and I do really, it's soothing and comforting, isn't it? So maybe an audio book, I'll give you that one, Sue, you can have that one.
Yeah.
But it is, isn't it, that kind of getting in the habit, what soothes you, what comforts you, what makes you feel good, and obviously that does for you, and I think for a lot of people, doesn't it, being read to. A lot of people say to me, a guided meditation where someone is talking them through it is much easier than when I try and teach people to do meditation themselves. You must find it the same, David. Your voice is your tool, isn't it? You're helping people with your voice, aren't you? So
yeah, and I do have I give my clients recordings, or there are recordings people can listen to on my website. So I encourage people to, if you like Sue, maybe Sue tonight, you can listen to one of those recordings online, and then just relax and drift off to sleep.
Yeah.
And I think it's about what you're listening to, and it's a bit like we talked in a previous podcast about music and feeding your brain. Again, it's about what are we feeding our brain with just before we go to sleep? Are we feeding it with things that are going to keep me awake through the night? Or are we feeding our brain with something that's going to relax me and drift off to sleep nicely and have a peaceful night's sleep?
Totally, yeah.
And I think bringing it back to that, starting with you, why should we start with us, with our with the I? And with many people, I've used this analogy, and it's a common analogy. But if you think about that airplane, if you go to put oxygen on someone else first, you're dead by the time you can put oxygen on you. Bottom line. So why mince about it? So, but if you put that oxygen, I know a positivity, but if you put that oxygen mask on yourself first, think how many people you can then possibly help, comfort, what have you. You're in a better position to be able to help people. And it was one of my getting in the habit of starting with me was a really big lesson, because I'm a giver, and back in the day as a people pleaser probably as well. And you put everyone else's needs first, one, because it is a really good form of avoidance. I will call that one. My name's Sue, and I used to be a big avoider and make everyone saving people my mission, because it was easier than having to look at my own life and save myself, so to speak. But since I've put myself first, my wings of love and care and kindness have been able to grow and spread even more, because I'm in a much better place. Because if I'm not in a good place, I now know the difference when I'm not in a good place and I'm trying to help someone. I actually know it's probably detrimental to them, because I'm not in the right energy center and within the right heart center within myself. So getting that habit, it is not how many of us have, whether it's the judgment we have in our head or we hear it from outside, it is conceited, it is narcissistic, it is big-headedness, it is selfish to put yourself first, put the I in front of everything else. But actually, it really isn't. It is one of the kindest acts that you can give, because in turn, if you want to help, you're in such a much more better mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual state to help others. And that help then comes from a much more heart center, rather than a place of not guilt so much, but all these other little things that creep in on why we do these things.
Yeah, that's right. And I would imagine that both yourselves, as much as me, we see clients who fall into that category of being either, you might want to call them a people pleaser, or that they go around looking after, caring for their family, their friends, always giving, but never really looking after themselves. And then all of a sudden something happens and they arrive at your door, my door, and they need some kind of guidance and some help in some way, because everything's got on top of them. So I think really the message here is, rather than wait until that moment where it all gets too much, is to look after yourself every day and start to look after yourself every single day, and then still look after the other people. That's fine, but you're looking after yourself as well. Would I be
And
right
it
in saying?
doesn't have to be, and when we say this, looking after ourselves, I can sort of almost hear people saying, I don't have time.
Yes,
I don't have time to put me first.
Yeah.
But actually, what we're talking about, although it sounds more possibly bigger and overwhelming than it actually is, because it could just mean that first 5 or 10 minutes, like Nadine does in the morning, you've put yourself first. You don't have to do it all the way through the day, but you just need to know that you've got pockets of the day where you can take yourself off. I used to say to people, I still do, you know, what's the one room in the house that you generally lock when you go in? It's the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or if you don't lock it, most people aren't going to walk in unless you've got small children, sort of thing. So I don't have time, I don't have the room, I don't have the space, I don't have the zen little go to the toilet. Most people do not bother you when you're in the loo, and in there you can just sit on the toilet and take those 3 deep breaths. I always say take those 3 breaths to anchor yourself. And even just doing, you know, if you all just sat here now, all of us, and just for a minute, just let's take 3 nice deep breaths in. So whatever you're doing, just calm yourself and just take a nice deep breath in and out. And taking another one, a bit deeper, a bit slower maybe this time, in and out. Feeling those shoulders drop maybe as you take another breath in and out. And just even now I'm noticing that I'm moving even more into my heart center. I've become a little bit of a calmer version of myself there as well. And how long did that take?
Yeah, very nice actually.
And how many times do we use the toilet in a day? So you cannot have the excuse that you don't. So that was another habit of mine, was every time I go to the loo, take 3 breaths.
Top tip, that one. That's brilliant.
It's how we fit it in our day-to-day life, isn't it? And I call it snatching moments of calm, because we can, like you say, I do a lot of workplace workshops, and that is the key, you know, do it when you're in the loo, because it works, doesn't it? But, you know, it is just anytime, anywhere, just noticing. And actually, even if you don't give yourself that little bit of time like we just did, just tuning in and going, actually, how do I feel? What do I do? Breathe. You know, it can be as quick as that as well, can't it? It's just tuning in all the time. And I think you're absolutely right. You know, like you say, we get a lot of people come to us, don't we, that have reached like crisis point, haven't they? I get a lot of mums that are having, you know, trouble with their children, their partners, that kind of thing. And I always say, you know, sort you out, get you in the way that you want to be. And that's what we're working on. And that has a ripple effect. It makes a difference to everybody. And I think the saying is, again, another one, you can't pour from an empty cup. You know, look after you. And especially with the mums that I work with, then they're leading by example. They're showing their children, this is how we live our life, this is how we make it good, this is brilliant. And it does, with, like you say, without taking time and effort, it just naturally ripples out, and it has a wonderful effect on everybody. So it is right, start with you, look after you, and it has that wonderful soothing, calming effect, doesn't it?
That thought of getting in the habit it's that's the dread. We built it up to being more than what it is. And I always say, just take, you know, you can only do one habit at a time. So even if it is that you just want to say, right, in the mornings, you don't have to worry about necessarily doing the stretching and everything as well, but in the mornings, I'm just going to start tomorrow with 3 breaths in the morning, or I'm just going to, every time I go to the loo, that will be enough to catch me, because you actually, it's an action that you're doing repetitively it is a really good way. I used to do it when I got in my car as well, but I don't go out and drive so much these days, funnily enough. But every time I got in my car, I would say, right, before I start the engine, take 3 breaths, because it's got me in a nicer, better place for driving and what have you. So try and add these new habits into things that you already do. Mindfulness, I brush my teeth mindfully now. So I take my time. If there's one thing, I might rush everything else in the bathroom in the mornings, but I will stop and take my time. And while I'm doing that, I can do some mirror work. So you kind of link those little things into a routine or a habit that is you're already doing, so that you're not having to sort of add something in where I'm like, and using that excuse, I haven't got the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do exactly that though. So it's, they say I haven't got the time, but they're rushing around and they're if you like, they're creating their negative habits that say they haven't got time, and they're doing this stuff that's taking them time. But if they were more mindful about things and creating good habits, then they'd have more time anyway, because they'd be less worried about, oh, I haven't got time, rushing. Be more organized as well, be more consciously aware of their day and their structure of the day. As Nadine said earlier, think about, what am I going to do today, and how am I going to do that? And so you get your structure even before you get out of bed in the morning. Fantastic, really.
Totally. And I think it's being mindful, isn't it, of every time we can just tune in with mindfulness, like you say, cleaning your teeth mindfully, everything that you do, just being aware, being present, which I found quite hard to grasp, I've got to be honest, years ago. But actually it is really simple, isn't it? It's just noticing, isn't it? Noticing. And it's a second, isn't it? It's a split second, just tuning in and noticing. And like you say, then you're more productive, you're much more clear on your thinking and what you're doing with your time. And you find that there is more time. Once you get in that habit, you are making time for yourself, which is lovely. So, and people don't get that when we say it to start with, but they do get it as they put it into practice.
You won't get it until you put it into practice.
Exactly.
Because you won't then notice, by putting it into practice, you'll slowly recognize the feelings of how good you feel from putting these little things into the habit. And then when you're not doing them, you'll notice how there's something, you're not feeling so chipper or something. So then you can actually start to realize, actually, that's, so many times it's not working because you've not actually done it. And, I always, not that I'm necessarily promoting antibiotics, but if you've got an infection, if you don't take that antibiotic, I mean, I've dealt with elderly, so I know water infections like there's no tomorrow. And the bottom line is you have to have your antibiotics, otherwise they're going to send you loopy. And if you don't take that antibiotic, you won't get rid of that infection. If you don't take your daily, start with you, get in the habit, whatever it is, meditation, yoga, just even if it's a 3-minute breaths, whatever it is, as simple as it can be, it won't change. Your life won't change. So all the time, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow comes, nothing's changed. So it is a case of just take whatever it is that you want to, just pick one thing that you want to get into that habit with, and start small, because everything, people think you've got to go for the big things to start with. Well, a house, and when you see a house completed, but it started with 1 brick.
Little steps.
Fantastic.
All the time.
Yeah.
Love it, definitely.
Ladies, it's been lovely having this podcast today, and I think we're just coming to our time limit now. Myself and Sue, we put our own time limit on our podcast. We said, after about 20 minutes, half an hour, people are going to get bored, they'll be gone.
Probably.
Hopefully they're still with us.
And we also know we can natter for England, and I know Nadine and I can as well.
We'll be here all day. So let's wrap things up. Nadine, thanks very much for joining.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Have been brilliant today. And we really hope that people now take your advice and the advice that we've given during this podcast to really start with themselves, you know, and take that moment, take those breaths, do what we've said, you know, and notice the change. That's all, you know. Be fantastic, wouldn't it?
If you want to prove us wrong, do it anyway to prove us wrong, and then in the meantime you might actually see that magic happens.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you again in another edition, our next edition of Getting a Habit podcast. We'll see what our next one is. We don't know yet.
We don't know, that the universe will reveal it all to us.
It will.
Thanks for joining us, Nadine.
Thank you so much. I've loved it. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.